Alright then, it's time for some more game analysis. It's time for KingFurykiller against Business Lawyer. Now, some obviously optional advice for anyone who would like to hear it. I don't expect anyone to have to watch this, it's up to them, but I thought I'd provide it just in case anyone was curious on what's going on. So, this is a 5-game series, so I guess a best of 5 in the end, goes down to the full 5. And let's begin with a Felix Venus game. Oop, that was a unfortunate timing, isn't it? CCA against CRA.
Oh.
This game, nothing much really happens that's worth pointing out until much later into the game. But there was one thing in terms of the opener that I thought needed to be said, so let's have a look. If I can wait for the map view, that would help. Oh wow, I click away right as it appears. Okay, there it is. So KFK spawns in the west, Business Lawyer is probably here, northeast or southeast. And they obviously go to mid as you do, and KFK sets up here, BL is here, and the sort of control over scrap goes something like this. So KFK gets the west, he gets just up here, top of mid, which you should be able to get from here. I think he maybe gets this, but not sure. But the majority of it, all of mid pretty much, goes to Business Lawyer. So that is a significant scrap disadvantage. In this game, King didn't really bother to fight for mid, he just kind of gave it up. It doesn't mean a lot really, it doesn't mean you're going to lose, but it's giving an advantage over. It's giving a scrap advantage to Lawyer, who unfortunately doesn't really make a good use of it in the end. So yeah, nothing really happens until Business Lawyer goes for an attack. He does a kind of split, which is interesting. It doesn't pay off too well. I think it's coming up. Let me check my notes, actually, that would help. Okay, 12 minutes. So King's got a presence up here on the north. A bit of a presence here, mainly just gun towers over here. So it's quite a stalemate for about 5 minutes or so, and then so Lawyer is in sat view, he's in satellite. As we can see here, this should indicate to you that something is going to happen. Not necessarily, but 90% of the time, if someone's in sat, something is being set up, normally a split or a flank. Someone could be using sat for scrap gathering, but that's normally at the beginning. So he's preparing for a fight in the north side, in the north channel. But suddenly, all of this appears. Let's see how visible this was on radar. A massive cluster to the south. There, okay, yeah, it is on radar. But he's not checking the map. Right here, that's a lot of arrows. One thing I noticed from King is I think he would benefit if you check the map a little more often, especially if you get a radar ping for an enemy in a position where it's threatening. So anywhere south to west is obviously threatening because that's in his area, that's behind lines or on the midway line. So at this point he sees all those pings. That's 2 pings I think he's got now.
Alright, he should be able to hold that position
Right.
for at least a
Maybe he spotted that, possibly.
little bit longer.
But the advance warning is there. Just got to be checking for it.
There we go.
Here he comes. So it's a bomber with a lot of turrets against 1 gun tower, and then Lawyer kind of faces with himself and his full army to the north. So it's offensives and player, and then AI with turrets from the south. Lawyer goes for this a lot.
Wow.
It's a nice move. This is really unfortunate here. I mean, it seems that AI pretty much won this on their own. I guess it's just the choice of terrain or the area to fight, so you don't really want to come through this tight passage for a fight. Maybe it'd go better if you came through here. Then you could pincer on the gun towers easier. But either way, yeah, a lot of the time with these offensive offensives, it does kind of come down to a lot of little factors like the terrain, what combination of units you've got, what they have. So it can go wrong even when it should not have. And unfortunately, we're going to see a wreck out of place in a second, right here.
He had his recycler with him.
Yeah, so I asked him, and I think he said it was just a mistake, just an accident. That he likes to move the recycler a lot with the CRA because obviously the constructor's so slow. So he was planning to move his recycler, and he just forgot that it was with him. Because obviously there are no advanced geysers on the way to the northwest base area, except this one here, but it's occupied. Okay. Now at this point in a game, when a player has just lost 2 kind of key components or key aspects of being in the game, 1 the recycler and 2 the whole offensive army, when someone's in this situation they don't have many options and they need to make a play. So this is when your awareness should be really high right now. The player's going to be on foot somewhere trying to snipe, and they cannot win through conventional means, through scrap gather or an offensive push, because they just lost all their army. So this is the key moment when you need to be especially aware of some kind of shenanigans. Now obviously, what did we see to the south? We saw a cluster of turrets. Where have they gone? We're not too sure because he had to come off and deal with this. So King's been distracted. And here they come. So there were a couple pings. Obviously, no one is going to spot every single ping and check it, but this is a really important moment in a game where you would expect some kind of weird move to come in, especially against Business Lawyer, who likes to do these sort of AI-led turret flanks.
Wait, what's hit my recycler?
It seems that not many made it through. Most of them got caught out by gun towers or turrets. So that's dealt with just fine. And that is pretty much all for game 1, I would say. In a couple minutes, because KingFurykiller has so much scrap right now. He has more scrap than he'd ever need. I think Business Lawyer's factory is still up, but he's probably broke. So the game is kind of over. He puts SB in tanks, which is a good use of the scrap. But yeah, closing thoughts on this. Got to fight a little bit harder for the mid scrap because there's a lot there. You don't want to give that away to the opponent just for nothing, for free. And just be a bit more aware on the map for pings that are coming from anywhere but the enemy's base. So for KingFurykiller in this game, pings come from the east, and that's fine. Anything coming from the south, north, or especially the west, that is a problem, and you should immediately switch to map to see what that was. Alright then, next up, game 2 on Decimation Valley. This game is a really nice case study of how Business Lawyer kind of plays his most common strategy, in my opinion his best strategy, like the most effective one that he has. The kind of strategy that he does that would encourage the meta to shift in some way with the way he uses turrets. I could see people using this as a standard thing, or at least a common thing, instead of something that you almost never see except from one particular player. So let's take a look at this. CCA again against the Chinese. The opener is nice from King. He gets a good range of scrap. He gets at least half around the side. He lets Lawyer take mid, but he does challenge it fairly soon. I'd say maybe try and challenge that mid take a bit quicker, because it's a lot of scrap in mid. I don't know how much exactly. I'd guess at least 40. So that's going to be equivalent to 2 points, I guess, if you want to call them like cardinal points with the north and northeast. It's going to be 2 of those, or 3 of those combined is what you get from the mid play. I'll jump ahead now to when Lawyer's attack actually happens. It's a nice early attack. It's sort of like a rush, but it's a rush that needs to wait a while because of the need to build everything that's required, pilots and scrap. I didn't get the BZ time on this, so let's try and work it out. It looks like we're about 5 minutes in.
Alright, let's see if I can actually seal this deal. Oh, his army's coming.
So right there you can see King spots the army coming in and then makes a decision to quickly do the 5-5-6-1, get the prods building. But really, you should be at 10 offensives already at 5 minutes in, because it looks like, okay, hang on, no. Give me see, okay, there it was. I think it's about 6 offensives, 2 of which are far away from the recycler. So he's only really got 4 in the fight plus himself. Now, for 5 minutes in on a small map, that's really dangerous. So yeah, I think it's such a high priority to get 10 offensives as quick as you can. As I say, like rule of thumb, 2 or 3 minutes in, get the 10 offensives, and then you are able to stop any kind of weird early attack. So this is what costs him. He does somehow manage to hold this off against what we sort of say is like the 20 versus 10, because Lawyer comes with the full army plus 10 turrets when he's got the full resources available. So yeah, just get to 10 offensives as quick as you can, then you are safe. It's just about removing the chances or the possibility of being called out. So if you just follow the rule of get 10 offensives, you won't get called out. You may get a slightly weaker economy because you're more focused on this than scavengers and silos, but it's better to take, say, like a 5 or 10% hit on the economy than to potentially lose the game because of an early attack that you're not ready for.
Uh-oh. No pilots.
So I'll let this play out.
Why does he keep bringing his...
He does bring the factory because what he's done, it's very smart what Lawyer's done. He's not only got 10 offensives and his turrets within a really good time frame of less than 5 minutes, he's also brought his factory and he's got pilots stocked so that he can deploy the factory close by on potentially this geyser or where he does actually put it up on this hill, to then send in a second wave instantly to stop KFK from recovering. So bringing a factory with you and sticking it here with pilots in stock is really good. Really nice, smart play. That nearly saves it for him. I'll quickly try and get a barracks down.
He still might get this. Not gonna have enough ammo.
Yeah, I mean, really, Lawyer should have won this. He made the right moves. Couple turrets up to sort of be the last stand. Here they come, here come Lawyer's turrets. Yeah, 6 coming in. But the whole turret attack thing, it's really interesting. It's been done here and there, but not on the kind of scale or commitment that Lawyer gives it. And I think he definitely sees potential in it being such a reliably good thing to do with the scrap that it, you know, it could become what you could consider meta, as in expected or done a lot of the time.
Well, that sucks.
So King does just barely enough to kind of save this.
Gosh.
So it's what I call an all or nothing strat, because either what you do works or you lose. There's no recovery if this attack doesn't work. So it's more of a gamble strat. Prods are on low hull. If this was stock in terms of the recycler hull, that would be very close to death. It would be probably in red by now. But not yet dead, just very close.
That was, look at that snipe.
Yeah, it is quite incredible that King does prevail. And there you can see the forward factory that's probably got a good bit of stocked up pilots in there to get use out of.
Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh.
Pilots are in a bad spot, but you can't really criticise that because the attack came in so early. You would be low on pilots at this early stage in the game, so we can't. That's not really a mistake per se. I would suggest for Lawyer, if you're going to go for these kind of all or nothing strats, you should definitely bring the recycler and all your scouts with you. Bring everything with you. Drop your recycler like up here or even here, because you're in it now. Like, this has to work or you've fed and it's over. So just bring your recycler with you. Right. So, yeah, I mean, how does this work so well? This tanks first, turrets second. Because Lawyer has beat a lot of people. Has beaten a lot of people with this tactic, and the reason it works is because one, people are slacking on getting the 10 offensives ready as quick as possible. I guess because they're presuming, radar and who the hell is going to rush like this with everything so early. But yeah, you got to be prepared for it. The reason it works though is because he's got his 10 offensives and he just dumps them into your offensives, into your army, does what you call an army trade. So you have no standing tanks left. Then he sends in the turrets to in that sort of key critical window when you would be rebuilding an army and he would be in trouble because he lost all of his and he needs to rebuild his. He's got a second kind of wave of attack in the form of turrets that can come in and take advantage of that window when you need to recover your offensives. So what could you do? You could get some of your own turrets up that could hold for theirs, because obviously turrets take about 6 or 7 seconds to deploy, so if you have some of yours up, they will shred through enemy turrets trying to deploy. You could also prioritize getting some APCs up, 2 or 3, keeping them kind of near the base, and then dropping them when the tanks or the turrets come in. That will force Lawyer to build a bomber or a few bombers, and they take longer to build. That would slow down his, I guess you could call it like late stage rush or maximum potential rush in terms of how much shit you're bringing in, yet it's still being an early attack. Also, as it comes in, you should be focusing on spamming, in my opinion, turret and APC as the build priority. Recycler gets turrets, and the factory should be just dropping APC for you to then spam near the recycler, and you should be okay. But yeah, you really want 10 offensives ready to take the 10 offensive trade, because if in the army trade Lawyer still has offensives up, that's going to be way harder to stop when those turrets come in. In fact, what I would suggest for Lawyer in that case is to kind of counter the counter, is to get your initial attack, get a lot of bombers into that composition for the preemptive counter to the APC spam in defense, and that should work. That's synergized quite well. So it's over from here. I think Lawyer does sort of send in some other shit, but it's not enough.
He's still very much in this.
Right, yeah, we see a walker being built. A few more tanks come in, but it's not really enough to turn the tide. But I mean, okay, so obviously it's hard to know when is a player truly out of the game. So when do you get in the walker? Well, one time is when their economy is destroyed and there's not really any chance of recovery. On a map like Decimation Valley with such low scrap, if the player has done an attack like this with a full army and turrets, they're going to be broke. There's just simply no question about it. They are broke. So you should be getting in a walker and considering finishing it like that through stat. Just sending 10 offenses on the recycler, because they won't be able to build enough to stop that, because their economy is so destroyed and there's not enough resources left on the map that are not in the opponent's base for you to take and recover with.
I won the first game.
King does not get in. Okay, so even the recycler does go down. Even the recycler's down, so this is 2 kind of key win conditions that have been already fulfilled. That's recycler and scrap resources. And he's still not in a walker. Now, it doesn't really matter, he still wins because Lawyer's on 1 life and he gets caught after he snipes him, but it does happen. And it's a completely avoidable snipe coming up very soon. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, totally avoidable. Lawyer does die to AI as a result of sniping,
Oh my
but
gosh, what a
game was over anyway. Alright, then let's jump through to
What a game.
the third one on Rock Baby.
We need like much more data for it to be conclusive, I think.
Now, King loses this game because of a sort of simple thing that he keeps doing, which is not knowing when to cut your losses. You know, when to fold them. So, if you go for a greedy opener, which King does a lot, and it doesn't work out, like the place that you go to is not open to take and you lose that initial attempt, you should be considering playing safe, dropping back to spawn and effectively restarting in a really safe manner. So factor in spawn, get a half army, try to move out slowly and take ground, rather than continue to fight over what you've not been able to take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rio's got a good point. Like, because the community is so small.
And an important thing to mention really on this map is that King didn't silo spawn. If I can go back and show you. He does not bother with a silo in the spawn.
I mean, by the law of averages, it will.
He just goes straight into mid. Let me draw a comparison for you that should explain it. So on Ice, that's a very similar map to Rock Baby. It's in fact almost like the same layout in terms of the spawn areas. And yeah, granted, Ice is a bit bigger in scale, at least for the spawn positions, but the principle still applies, which is if you play Ice and you do not put a silo in your scrap channel, you're going to be broke for a long time. The scavs are going to take a really long time to go back and forth between the scrap channel and your recycler. It's just not a good idea. You need a silo in that channel, that little canyon with scrap, just to get the quicker resources to then play into the game quicker. So yeah, even though Rock Baby is a kind of a scaled down version of Ice, the same logic still applies. It's still a long time for those scavs to make it back and forth. That bites him in the arse here because he skips on the silo because he thinks, that will be collected passively. I mean, yes it will, but in like 5 minutes compared to 1 minute, which it would happen with a silo. So a silo in mid is nice. He then tries to go for the vacant spawn, but he goes to the wrong spawn. Now on this map, the spawns do appear to be fixed. I'm not sure if this is 100% the case, but it does seem from many games now on this map that one player will spawn in the north and another player will spawn in the southeast. So obviously we can't expect everyone to know this or to necessarily be thinking about this, but I feel confident in telling you now that the southwest corner is the corner that is always vacant. But yeah, let's not worry too much about that.
It did need to be 14 scrap.
King comes in thinking it's a southeast that's open.
Though, just to like kind of
Eats a CP shot, gets ejected. Nice shooting from Lawyer to, well, kind of nice shooting. There we go.
Yeah.
At this point, a decision has to be made because the initial plan is not going to work anymore. It's failed, so we've got to adapt. We've got to make a choice now. We cannot continue with what we wanted before, which is a wide open into the vacant, because that's not the vacant. We've lost our tank. We could quickly on deploy and run to the southwest, which we know is open now, because that's simply not enough time. Okay, I suppose if Lawyer did spawn in southwest, he could have made it here in time, but you'd have to kind of get information and check that. But there's not really time because Lawyer responds perfectly. It's a really nice response from Lawyer. So because he ejects a player tank, and I'm guessing Lawyer assumed, made the logical connection that King was expecting this corner to be vacant, by the way he drove in so confidently and not checking for enemies.
I'm with Rio on that one.
And so yeah, right now what I would do is I'd run back to spawn. I'd recycle that constructor. I'd probably leave the scabs because there's no guarantee that Lawyer will come flying forward, but he does actually do that, which is brilliant. That's good thinking. But I'd probably leave the scabs. I'd recycle that constructor. I'd get a factory. I'd build whatever offensives I can.
And I mean, in general.
And then make a move for another scrap field. So, or even potentially move your recycler into mid. But if that happened, it would have been game over because you're about to see how Lawyer responded to the information of player eject and player thinks he's gone for vacant when he's not. So the plan is disrupted.
Like, you can still use data to support that. Like, CCA is winning all these matches. You look at the scenario.
King runs a factory into mid. Even without knowing what happens next, that's quite risky because you've got no offensives, you've been ejected. It's a very, very small map. Not really got any time to play with in terms of taking risks.
Yes.
You've lost the opening gambit, it's time to play safe. Now he goes for the spawn silo. That should have been first.
Because both walkers are like equal.
And I don't mean to nitpick, but if you are going to put a spawn silo, put it here. There's some space here for it that's not blocked by scrap. Just drop it here. It's in the middle between the, where the scrap is placed. If you put it on one side, they're going to get that quick and that quick, but this is going to take a long time. It's actually going to be quicker for them to go to the recycler than to the silo. So really you want the silo in the dead center, in the closest center of mass of the scrap deposit.
Agreed also on that point. Yeah, it was clear that the stock APC was completely ridiculous.
So BL uses the knowledge that KFK must be in a bad spot because of eject and thinking it's vacant when it's not. That information tells Lawyer that King's scrap opening plan did not only fail, but it means that he's going to be low on scrap because the steps he's taken assumed that this would be his. And because it's not, he's not going to have a backup plan that he can execute straight away. So he's open, he's vulnerable, and he responds perfectly.
Wait, what is this animation?
I do actually want to play out this defense because it's brilliant how King holds on when he shouldn't have. He had no right to hold on this long, but he does.
I might lose this shit. Holy shit. I'm losing everything I have.
Recycler here. Building. Yes. Unit factory. Unit complete.
Yes. Under attack.
Recycler here. Moving out.
This aggro. Oh, fucking hell. I gotta get a snipe on this.
Turret is deployed.
Building.
Increase their hull so they can survive long enough to get their scrap flow. That would be my recommendation. I am going to lose. The CRA rush, though. Fuck. This is so bad. Holy shit.
Challenger lost.
Unit factory. Understood.
Defender lost.
Awaiting orders.
Fuck.
More power is needed. Recycling.
Yes, under attack. Attacker lost.
Recycler here. Building.
Desperately holding on.
Unit complete. Recycler here. Building.
It's a fucking factory there too.
Unit complete. Moving out.
Oh no.
Not
Oh
good.
Recycler
no.
here.
Not good.
Building.
Nice shot there.
Unit complete.
Saved by the snipes. It's 1-1. That walker doesn't see me.
And just when King starts to breathe,
Recycler here. Building.
another one.
Warning. Damage critical.
Unit complete.
Combat down.
Moving out. Recycler here. More power
And
is needed.
here it
Approaching
comes.
Kaiser. Recycler here. Building. Building. Unit complete. Building. Pack here. Yes, yes.
Oh no, not yet. It's coming up.
Unit complete. Unit factory. Constructing. Pack here. Yes, yes. Recycler here. Building.
Yeah, at this point in the game, it's done. Because Business Lawyer is good enough now, he's experienced enough now to know how to finish out these situations. King is so broke, he's
Unit
trapped.
complete. Unit factory.
I tell you, it would be interesting to finally get some use out of the upper area. Like, this would be a great time to run through here and then up here. Because Lawyer is trying to finish this with walkers. So just slowly finish him off. If King ran and then came here, got some scrap, and then ooh, Southwest would be open, right? Southwest would be untouched because Lawyer was spawned southeast and immediately counterattacked when King lost his tank here on the vacant attempt, or the wrong assumption that this is vacant. So this would be open for a recovery. That would have been an interesting way to see this game end. Finally someone playing on the top area, but it didn't go that way.
Recycler here. Yes, comrade.
But yeah, staying here is not gonna
Is deployed.
change the result unless there's some kind of fluke snipe or something. But I don't think Lawyer is playing it. I think he's playing in a walker right now to keep it safe. So just delaying the inevitable
Construction here.
unless there's a crazy snipe. In fact, I think is that him in the light tank? Dangerous game he's playing if he is. Some nice rocket bomb shots.
Orders. Understood.
Warning. Damage critical. Comrade down. Challenger lost.
Recycler here. Building.
APC spam here could have been interesting. I don't know if it would have changed anything, but it would have forced Business Lawyer to do something besides spam walker. I mean, he does try to get a howitzer up, but that gets caught out.
Unit complete. Attacking enemy. Another has died. Your orders? Understood. Recycler here. Building. Moving out. Another has died. Your orders? Unit complete.
dwarf.
Effecting enemy. Moving out.
And he targets the player in the air. So good stuff.
Well done, sir. Well done. Well done. And the CRAs for
A nice, entertaining game there. Alright, then on to game 4 with King of Madness. So, I've got a lot more nitpicking to do on this map because it's a map that we all play a lot. You know, it's kind of the baseline map. You need to know this map well. It requires a lot. It requires effectively all the fundamentals. It's a brilliant map in my opinion. Yeah, it may not be like objectively well designed if you put it up against modern day maps in terms of how map designs come along, but for the time, in my opinion, this is the best design we've got because it just has so many options. It's a really weird opener, well not weird, but you know, an opener that's not friendly to noobs, so they've got to learn map openers, they've got to learn scrap placement. You've got the whole second corner thing, which really comes up again in this for King.
Emperor meta.
I really think for King it's just decision making. He's got a lot of really strong attributes about him. Obviously we all know his deathmatch is not quite up to par compared to the rest, but it doesn't need to be. It's just decision making that lets him down, I think. Everything else is really good about this player.
Well, that is just like restoring faith in the original.
So 2.5 minutes, it's a normal opener, corner into mid. But then King decides to go for the second corner straight away.
That's true. That's true.
It's coming up now. So a silo mid, I like that. I like a silo mid. And he's going for second corner at 3 minutes 30 with no offensives. He's actually recycling factory. I really don't like this because, in fact, let's just hear what King says because he does kind of address it in the moment.
This is a really slow opener. I would never get away with this if it wasn't the CRA that I'm facing. And even now, if he light tanked rushed me, I would be toast. I'm basically counting that he doesn't.
Right, so alright, let's play devil's advocate for a minute and let's try and really consider both sides of it. So rushing the second corner straight away after the first at around 3 minutes with nothing in base. Okay, it's good because, well, it's actually really good if you're about to attack, like full on attack, because, well, really you'd want to get the second corner even quicker. If you want to go on a King of Madness and you want to come into it being the attacker, then you want to make your first corner take as efficient and quick as possible, to just 2 scavs and go. Obviously recycling constructor and then rebuilding it for the maximum time saved, and then running second corner and then getting back into base before 3 minutes are up. This is really nice because you can get on attacking the other player before they've taken their second corner, and you're going to have close to double the scrap in play to win. Again, this is another great reason why this map is so good, is that you get this dynamic of play on half scrap and play safe, or play on double scrap but take a massive risk. It's a brilliant design in my opinion. Not sure how intentional it is. You got to wonder if they thought about this. Probably not. It just came out the way it did. But yeah, I really don't like when people take the second corner immediately, because, okay, in this case Business Lawyer is not like a solo rush player and he's playing CRA, so fine, we could put it down to King just decided for this opponent and this faction pick it makes sense to do it, but it's just not gonna work against any other player with any other faction. Like 99% of the time, by 3 minutes, the opponent is going to be checking your base. They're going to be having eyes towards the base. They're going to come over and maybe harass the scavengers. they're going to be attack scanning, T scanning to see what's in there, and if they see nothing, your recycler is going down, like, for a fact, because they know you're going for second corner and they know you're too far away to stop. I've beaten King many times because of this. I've seen him lose many times because of this. I think it's really got to stop. Get the second corner later on, once you have an army and you have basically a deterrent. There's a deterrent in the base to say, I may be away, but you're not going to waltz in here and take out the recycler like it's nothing. Gun tower, turret, an army, you know, some kind of combination of deterrent, and you should be alright. Oh, I did think of another devil's advocate argument actually for taking it straight away. So if the opponent applies pressure on you very early when you're in your base, and they get howitzers up really quick, like let's say they take the corner next to you, which VT Ryder has done a few times, actually on me. He opens in this really weird way with Black Dogs, where he ends up in mid next to me on the hill to the side. Gets the howitzers up really quick by 3 minutes, and applies pressure on my factory straight away. So that anything I build is coming out damaged. I'm at the howitzer disadvantage in the howitzer war. If that happens to you, you may end up effectively trapped in your base, because you can't leave because there's that threat on the doorstep. You need to be there to get on top of the howitzer game, and you need to be managing scavs and, you know, fighting, and you really, there's no time to dip away. So you could say that you need second corner straight away because you need to be at maximum scrap as quick as possible so you don't get trapped on a deficit. But I really think it's easier to run out of your base for 10 seconds around 6 minutes in, when there's fighting happening but you've got units up to defend, than it is to take the risk now and go at 3 minutes when the player is going to be lurking and checking to see what you've got. But enough of that. Let's we put that to one side, because it doesn't actually have an effect on this game, because Lawyer does play it very passively. Right, yeah, okay, next issue. I'm just gonna go ahead and not be nice. I'm just not gonna try to be nice. I'm just gonna call this for what it is.
Feed.
It is a bad feed, you're correct. This is a horrible mistake. Okay, let's learn from this. 4 minutes in, almost 5. What does that mean? That means the opponent is definitely going to be ready to some extent. That's long enough. As you're approaching a base, especially one where you can't get visual, because you've got either fog or a hill, you know, a crest of the hill that's blocking vision, what do? Well, there's two things you can do. I'll give you a second to think what they are, to get information on what is there before you go in. Let's see if King does either of them. So he chases down the scav. He gets tunnel visioned. This is kind of like the silo problem that we see, but this time on a scav. The business lawyer is more than ready. King doesn't attack scan or T scan. They're the two things you want to be doing to get the information if someone is there. He doesn't do this. He comes in way too close with just 2 wingmen and himself, so 3 against what looks to be I see at least 3. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fights are behind 5 and 6.
Leave too much scrap on his doorstep.
At least 6 against. Okay, now 4 and 5. So yeah, a fight that you should not be taking. Definitely outnumbered, definitely outgunned because of CRA weapon advantage. there's stuff coming, but it's not ready. So he could have waited a second for stuff to catch up. But really the issue is there's no attack scan, there's no T scan. Very quickly, for those who don't know that, if you open the attack menu for an offensive, you select the offensive, you press 3 for attack, it will show you the 10 nearest enemy targets. So if he did that attack scan, oh, I went a bit too far back, and this internet is just horrible. As we're about to get, so on the radar, obviously when you do attack scan, it's only going to show up to the limit of your unit's radar. So for a tank it's 400. So this is just cresting the hill, the tip of the radar. So about now, we're getting dangerously close to a fight, but we could still back off now and stop chasing this scav. We open an attack, offensive unit attack, we would see 10 things here. So we'd see scav, like 5 or 6 offensives, factory, you know, scavs, whatever. We would see that there is way too much here to take a fight with. And King just continues to go T scan or T key scan, or you know, whatever you want to call it. That would be pressing T. Anything towards the base, you would pick up. It would lock onto the T target thing would lock onto anything in the base. It doesn't matter if they're behind terrain, except for turrets. They don't show behind terrain. The center of mass, that is, or the center of the unit. And you would see through terrain that he has. You'd get information. You'd lock onto a tank. You'd lock onto something, and you could see probably in the T cam. You would see other offensives, and you would therefore know that it's not a good idea to continue pushing and to back off now and to avoid a massive feed. So, you know, fundamental rule of the game: do not feed.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Do not be an Uber Eats driver with the delivery of scrap or the delicious foods.
This is a bad feed.
Yeah, om nom nom. Big feed. Make sure you give a tip. Actually more of an American thing, that. We don't really do tips in the UK. You get a tip if your service is actually not normal, like it's something special. Anyway, by the by. 7 units lost. 7 offensive lost. So let's do the quick maths. Let's just say the average unit's about 6 or 7 or 8. I really can't do maths. I'm more of a words person. I'm just going to say like 50 or 60. Yeah, that's a lot of scrap. Is it game over though? No. This is the 3rd mistake. Everyone. You've just lost it's like a intermediate sized amount of scrap. So it's not a light exchange that doesn't matter. It's not a massive exchange that puts you out the game. It's somewhere in the middle. It puts you on a reasonable disadvantage, but still playable. Considering the map is Kangen Madness, it's got a good bit of scrap, so you can recover, you can still play. That's fine. What do? You cut your losses, right? This fight is done. I'm assuming that was 4 offensives lost for Lawyer, so 4 to 7. Lawyer's got still again half an army. He's going to be building more because the scraps just dropped here. He's going to be building offensives to take control of this to secure his advantage. So you cut your losses. You do not pursue that. You just give it up. You just say, okay, I made a mistake. That's not gone the way I wanted it. Let's just continue forward. Let's move on. Let's stay optimistic. Let's think of ways to recover and win the game. But this is KingFurykiller we're talking about. So it's getting that sunken cost fallacy. You know, you think a man who works in the business world would know about this. That if if you get lost, you get some losses. Sometimes you just got to accept that they're gone and you're not getting them back. So you can then move on to the next attempt, the next move. Rushes a silo in a stolly. Do you know how long it takes to kill a silo in a stolly? I don't either because I've never done it. It's not smart, but a bloody long time. Again, attack scan to see that there's offensives covering it, so you can't take it on your own. And the punish is true. Small little thing, because King was up on this spire, when his tank died, the scrap did not drop. There's no scrap. This gets deleted because any scrap that's on an incline of, I want to guess, about 45 degrees, the scrap does not appear. It just gets deleted because scabs will try to path towards it. That was one of the fixes that came in with the in the older versions of the game. They put this in because scrap would fall on a hillside or literally a flat wall, a 90-degree wall, and scabs would not. Well, they would keep going after it if it was closer, technically closer, right? Because the scabs and the AI processes the game in 2D, so they don't get the idea of a hill, so they'd go after scrap. They can't reach it because their pathing prevents them, and you just get stuck with scabs that don't behave as you'd like on passive. I mean, you could manually order them to go somewhere else, but that's just a ball ache, right? That's why we fix the compass, because of stuff like this. So important to bear in mind, don't eject or die on a steep piece of terrain because the scrap will be deleted unless, no, in fact no, that's just a flat rule, isn't it? I guess you don't want to lose scrap that was yours. Even applies to howitzers. I've had games where howitzers have been up against a wall and they've died, and the unit, when it's dead and it's about to despawn, as we have now, rather than break into chunks, it kind of drifts towards the wall. It's technically on the wall, and I don't get that scrap. That scrap does not drop, it just deletes itself. So you've got to be careful with this. I thought I'd mention it because it's kind of a esoteric detail of the game that will really cause you problems. If you lose a huge chunk of scrap against a wall, you'll never get that back. And apologies for this video being probably over an hour long, but once I start, I don't stop. So the hardest thing for me is making something brief and concise. Just take it in chunks, I guess. Watch 10 minutes, watch 10 minutes the next day. Okay, so yeah, what I've been rambling on about is the idea of know when you've lost a fight, know when a scrap is not yours. You can't try and contest it. It's truly in your opponent's control. Just give it up and stop going back for attempts that you can't win. Look at it. Player tank, APC tank, I think, something, one offensive, one wingman. KFK is going to get ejected here again. This is just going to give even more scrap over. So he's kind of digging the hole deeper. He's making the situation worse rather than just accepting that it's done. And let's think about it, right? So let's imagine scrap was still here from that initial feed. King gets the silo, but this scrap is on Lawyer's side. Lawyer has an army. So if King gets the scrap, if King gets the silo, Lawyer can just build another silo and stop King's scabs from coming in taking anything, so the scrap is still Lawyer's. If King comes in and gets offensives down, well, how is he going to? Because he's on his own in a stock tank against at least half an army. The bottom line is this is scrap he can't take. It's just out of his reach. He hasn't got the offensives. He hasn't got the army ready to contest it. it's too far on Lawyer's side. Lawyer has too much. There are the three main conditions there. So you have to give it up. You have to accept that that's gone. Lawyer's just going to build another silo right now. That's a tank drop. That's another tank about to drop. That's a 10 scrap feed, or 20 if you double for multiplayer. A 20 scrap feed on top of the initial 50 or 60. So yeah, know when to cut your losses, when to accept that scrap is no longer yours. It's no longer yours to contest. Let me check my notes. Yeah, and business lawyer, like I say, he's good enough and he's experienced enough to know how to secure scrap. Maybe if you're a really good player and you're against someone like a rookie, you could like force the issue and bully them enough to push them off scrap even when they have the massive advantage in numbers. You could. Or if you're a really good DMer and you've got SP, you could SP everything down. But it's just not feasible in a game where it's close to balanced, because right now we have these two players in A tier. I'd say King's got the edge because he's got thousands more hours of strat time on him, on Lawyer. But you've got to know when you're not getting your hands on that anymore. It's not yours. You have to give it up, because if you continue to persist, you're just going to give more and more. King gets a lot more done here in a bomber than he ever would in a tank, which is nice. Playing in a bomber is so good. It's so good, especially in Redux with the fact that rocket bombs detonate when they expire. They used to evaporate before Redux. They just disappear at 300 meters, and now they explode as if they hit something. It just makes the unit even better than it already was. And he gets a lot done here with that. Okay, this is important to take a note of. Again, a lot of things I'm pointing out, I'm not trying to kind of condescend or to throw shade. I'm just pointing out the mistakes, the reasons for losing. And you know, King can watch this or be told about this and try and work on it if he wants to. He doesn't have to. I'm not making it to lecture him. It's just that I feel the need that we don't have the information or the breakdowns on how games happen. We just sort of play them, and the knowledge of improving goes into the brain sort of subconsciously, and the next time you play 1% better. But if I can present it in a way where it's explained and it's clear, maybe I can speed up that process for you and help you improve quicker. So yeah, not just for King if he wants to improve personally, but also for anyone else who has the patience and the time to hear me ramble on and see how mistakes are made and how to avoid them. Now this here is what I would call a mistake, the kind of decision that's made on the eject. Right below him there's a fight happening. He knows the player is there. Okay, let's not you know, speak too far ahead, but let's assume, you know, there's a likelihood, there's a good chance that the player is here because he's at the front with attacking with his offensives. That's the standard thing. You know to do that. You know to be the offensives on attack. So we can assume BR's here. Why does King drift towards the fight in as a pilot in the air? Okay, he seems to want to place this. What did he place? I mean, whatever it is he's just ordered, that's probably not gonna be built because he has no map mid control right now. It's a silo, okay, but I don't think that's gonna. Well, if it does go up, that's because business lawyers dropped off the pressure, which you should have kept going. But that should not be going up, that silo. So even then, it's not worth drifting over here just to reach this terrain to drop the silo. BL spots him and punishes him for it. Some of you might be thinking, okay, well, it's 1 life. He's got 3. He's got 2 more, right? Well, yeah, but no, because you're going to see how that adds up later, how that restricts your options. So what could you do instead? Well, on eject, if you're trying to prioritize keeping your 3 lives, which I think people need to be doing more of, is just making sure you stay on 3, because it just gives you more options. I mean, like, if you stay on 3 lives, and then towards the end of the game, there's this amazing opportunity to take a risk and jump in on foot into opponent's base and snipe them because they're maybe in sat or something. If you've got 3 lives, you could throw that away on a chance and maybe win the game off of that. But if you're losing lives at the start in the initial skirmishes, you're throwing away the chance to make that play later. That's just one way to interpret it. What I would do is I would either drift to over here, which is north, which is over here on the map. I'd drift over here, away from the fight, try and get away unnoticed. Maybe kind of glide backwards towards the mid spire, land on the spire. Could even go for a snipe. I think Lawyer's in a heavy tank, so that would be an easy snipe. Yeah, so go drift this way, or drift back, but not forward, because the offensives are here, and they're occupying this space. And it's just too easy for the player to spot you drifting in. I mean, what could have given it away is the turn, because he was facing west. He turned to the side to drop the building order. BL could have seen this. You know, a pilot wouldn't move to the side and back. They would just keep facing the recycler and walking towards it. That's one possible way he spotted him. The second way is that if you are looking at the player, it's either alt or space. I think it's space. It will say no action player. Grayed out. So you can't press it, but it will say player, and that confirms to you that what you're looking at is not a pilot AI, it is indeed the player. So you can use that to check if a pilot in the air is a player or not, and if it is a player, then you can send your AI to attack or chase it down. And either way, it's confirmed by the hopping, because obviously AI pilots do not hop. So there is the first life take. Okay, so we can jump to... Now remember in Felix Venus we saw Business Lawyer's Recycler kind of joining the attack. Here it is again. But in this case there is a reason for it. There is actually... Yeah, there is a reason for why he brings it up with him. It's a good one as well. Now, let's consider what I said previously about cutting your losses in terms of a fight that you've lost. Does it apply here as well? Not anymore, because now you've lost even more scrap. You've lost so much that it's beyond recovery if you ran somewhere else, because this is not only your first corner, but this is your second corner of scrap on the floor here. Again, another reason for saving the second corner for later. You could run back here, undeploy, run to second corner, rebuild in the corner. You can't now because you've taken it already and it's been lost here in sort of mismanaged attacks and maneuvers. So you do need to fight for this, actually. You do need to come out here and take these fights that are not in your favour, that are heavily stacked against you. You do need to take them, because if you don't get this, you're out the game. You need to fight for this. Right, what's BL's Recycler doing? He wants to put it up here on the south hill, so he's closer to KFK, so that the time it takes for his scavs to build and get on scrap is less. So he's sending his Recycler up. Okay, another life loss. Whoa, what's happened? Wow. Huh, okay. Love it, guys. UK net is the best. What the hell's happened here? Have I just lost internet connection? Jesus Christ. Alright, then back in a minute. Okay, we're back. The internet recovered. So, right here.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, indeed. Another life loss. Let's see. Okay, so why does King go for this? Well, it kind of feels like there is a way back in. It's not. So the way business lawyer is playing this carefully is telling King, you can get back into this, it's not done yet. So he's thinking, what if I snipe these? I can take these, or I can scrap these up, and maybe business lawyer is not in as strong a position as it would seem at first. Okay, alright, but are you going to snipe all three? You're going to land 100% on all of these for 3 shots? I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't expect myself to do that. I don't think anyone really would expect to hit all 3 AI without missing 1 shot, especially when I'm not sitting still. So yeah, let's just get back to base alive. We're on 2 lives now, but it does happen. Okay, are we not in Decimation? Oh, there we go. Right, notes. Okay, this is a strange choice. Again, like I say, I think the issue of King is decision making. Like, something comes to his head, and he just goes with it. Or equally, maybe he's thinking too much about it, and he decides that it is the right choice because of some kind of other stretch, when the obvious answer is right in front of you. You've got to fight for this. You've got to invest in what you've got. You've got enough scavs. There's plenty of scavs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's enough. Maybe 7 there. There's enough scavs. You don't need more. You do need a silo, but you can't maintain a silo without offensives. You can't get offensives because you've not got scraps. You're in a bit of a pickle. You're in a bit of a tough spot. But you've got to try and hold out, maintain a presence here, and stop Lawyer from finishing off what he's... what King started, actually. But, decision making. Go for scrap? Nah. Let's go for the armory. The lowest priority kill in the whole game. Even lower than the barracks. Let's make this video even longer, shall we? Seeing as we're going for it. Why is the armory a low priority kill? Well, because... firstly, it does not build offensives, so it's not a threat. Okay, it can drop day wreckers, but that's such a niche case if an armory is in your base. Let's not worry about that. So it does not present as a threat. It's not a threat. That's firstly. Secondly, it only drops, I believe, 4 pieces of scrap. So it drops the same as a light tank. Okay, so that's not much, or 2 scabs, so that's not a lot. So it's not giving you the scrap, it's not giving you much scrap. It's not a threat. It's not a particularly high importance unit, is it? Right? How many games have you finished where you've not built an armory once? I'm sure quite a lot. Don't need an armory, it's not that important. Next, it's got very high hull, so you're going to burn through all this ammo and, crucially, all of this time on your own in a stock tank with no mortar link to kill an armory. Okay, so you have to go back and reload for 4 scrap. You've almost used up all 4 on pods if you were to go by pods. Okay, that might be an exaggeration, but you know, you get the point. And this scrap is going to be kind of out the way, so it's not going to be recovered easily. You know, if this armory was sitting here, then sure, okay, yeah, kill it. It's a donation, take it. And another reason, well, the main reason is look at all this here. You need this. This is what, like 20, 30 armories of scrap on the floor. You're going for the one here. Yeah, decision making. I'm not sure why. When I see King do this, I just feel like he's throwing on purpose. But I have spoke to him privately and sort of kind of tried to establish, like, do you actually want to win? And he says yes. He says, you know, it's competitive. He wants to win, of course. So I'm gonna call out your bullshit, man. Don't do that. Don't go for an armory. If you're gonna win, leave it. Don't need to kill it. It's not important. You can leave it there the whole time. Focus on getting all of this. Focus on fixing your mistake up front, which is feeding all of this. If look, Lawyer is giving you a chance back in. Those seconds on the armory, if they were used here with the silo built closer, offensives up here, you'd probably get a lot of this back, or more than you will, and you would be in a much better spot. You'd be bringing the game close to 50-50 again in terms of resources. This is a mistake from Lawyer. Lawyer, where the hell are you? Where are you right now? Like, you should be here. You should be throwing everything at King to keep him off the scrap. So he's giving you a way back in. He's giving King a way back into the game. King should be taking full advantage of this and just soaking up the scrap. Drop a silo right there. Imagine what's going to happen. All of this is going to be recovered in a matter of seconds. You've got so many scabs. You've got, what, 8 scabs? If a silo is here, that whole midfield is going to be taken in literally 10 seconds. And you're back on top. Just like that. Okay, Lawyer's back. Yeah, look, come on, think about it. That time it took to kill the armory, you would have got a silo, and you would have got all that. That right there would have decided the game, actually, would have given you a shot back at winning. God, it really winds me up, man. It just makes me so angry. Nah, I'm kidding. It doesn't make me angry. It just makes me feel like I really want to help. Like, God, why can't I just put this into your brain? Please, just don't go for armories. Just not worth it. Okay, let's check the notes. Are we done on this game? It's been so bloody long.
One nasty snipe and I'm done.
Yes.
This is a little scary too.
And whose fault is that, King? Okay. Alright, yeah, again, look, let's really be a bastard about this. Let's just point out every single time there's not max efficiency, right? Take a look at this. Ammo is above halfway. So what does that mean? That means 1 pod is all you need. He's in a SAR, so not quite. There'll be a little bit like left, but we're talking maybe 5 or 10% of the ammo that's not topped off. What does he do?
One nasty snipe and I'm done. This is a little,
Right, he's got his SPs.
little scary too.
He grabs 1 ammo. He deliberately... Okay, this is not an accident. Don't tell me this is an accident. He deliberately accelerates into the next one. Look at the ammo count. That's fine. That's basically full. That is such a waste. You know, each pod is, you know, about half, or, well, not half, but about a third, to going up from a third to a half of ammo. And you got about 5% for it. Why am I being so mean? because I've seen King do this so many times. So many times. And it's not an accident. It's not like he's accidentally driving into the other one, or, you know, they're bunched up and he can't stop. He's not checking his ammo count to see, oh, look, I was at 57, I don't need to get more. It's one scrap, but that one scrap can make a difference, especially when you're playing on a scrap deficit. What if you were down to, I don't know, 13, well, yeah, now SPP, if you're down to 13 scrap, you're one away from a walker, you get that walker out, it could clutch up massive, could clutch up the whole game for you, if Lawyer's pushing in. If you're down one scrap, that could be it. I know that's a real stretch, but you get the point. Right, is there anything else I want to say on this? Oh, there is. No, it doesn't end there, guys. That's not it. There's more I've got to say about this. I'm really going for it now. You know, I've analysed HF, G1, Caleb. You know, I've called out their mistakes, and there's not many. You know, they're pretty smart guys. But King, oh boy, oh buddy, I've been saving this up. I've got a lot to say. I'm not done. This video's not even halfway, man. I'm getting warmed up.
I gotta wait for the right time to make that push.
Okay, I did make a note that around about now it would be good to have some howitzers, because we've got this. Look at that, we've got all the scrap in. That was again, Lawyer, if you're listening, come on, man. You didn't need to give that over to him. You had him on the ropes. You had him down to nothing. He was when he lost his I think equally, yeah, both like the first life loss and the second life loss. We saw King jump in a tank in his base and come down the hill and continue to do KingFurykiller things. That's a euphemism. And I mean, he had nothing else. It was just recycle a factory tank, maybe an APC or something here and there, and a load of scabs. This is your time to push in and finish it. Finish the game off. Like we know you've got the balls for it. Just just practice getting the intel. Get the intel. Get out of your heavy tank. Get into a fighter. Make some kind of suicide run up here and see what he's got. Get his satellite and see what he's got. He's got nothing. Finish him off. Get your wins. But I did say, yeah, King's got walkers, bomber, scrap. Let's get some howitzers up now. Let's get some howitzers up and let's wipe out BL's forward outpost. Let's level that whole thing and let's reset the game back to 50-50. You know, we say you got to take the bull by the horns. Opportunity's right there. Silo it. I mean, it's not silo it, what the fuck? Howitzer it. Get the W. Okay, this next thing tilts me off the planet. Well, it's not that bad actually, that's an exaggeration, but... okay, we're in an SB tank. We're still at a scrap disadvantage. We're still...
Not good.
You know, Lawyer's still got more scrap than us. Still. We lose our SB tank. Offensive list, how's it doing? Okay, I kind of wanted to see the offensive list before that. How's the offensive list? I want to see. Are we going to see? Oh, there it is. It's empty. Look at that. Grayed out. Yeah, look. No comrades left. Look, offensive's empty. Offensives are empty. We don't have enough scrap for full army. We have close to full, like 7 or 8 tanks. We need to get more. We've got the pilots. Okay? We have the pilots. We have the men. We have the scrap for almost a full army. We need to get on the scrap to secure this. Commander, what do we do? What's the decision, Commander King? Man with thousands of hours in strat. How do we finish this shit? Do we build an army? We're going to drop a gun tower. A CCA gun tower. And we're going to... And get a tank. We've got a light tank, okay. The decision is good, but oh no, you're dropping SP. Why? Are you Vivify? Are you VT? Are you Caleb? No, you're not gonna win up. You're not gonna clutch a game. You're not gonna clutch up a game of SP. Okay, I'm not gonna clutch up a game of SP. I don't think even G1 or HF would. They would just get the offensives and keep pushing momentum back. Why do that? And to prove my point, to prove I'm not just talking shit, let's time how long he survives in his new SP tank. Okay, here come the SPs in a second. 12 scrap investment, or is it 11? MDM, is MDM 1 or 2? I never drop MDM, I don't know. I think it's 1. 11 scrap investment, or 12. So that's a tank and a half. That's 2 light tanks. It's almost a walker. There's more than 2 APCs to get on that scrap and secure the scrap. Alright, let's count it in your head. How long does the SP tank last for? The 12 scrap investment. Going now. Ten. Okay, I counted about 14 seconds. 14 seconds to lose the SP tank at the bottom of the hill because of a number disadvantage. Too many offensives to fight. It's CRA. CRA has the CP stabber on the heavy tank, 260 meter range. They got SP on the main tanks, 200 meter range to match your SP. It doesn't make sense. Just flood the channel with offensives. You've got the pilots, you've got the scrap. Just build offensives, bottom of the hill. BL's pushed onto your side. If he loses offensives here, he's feeding you. Make him feed. Go attack with offensives. Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah, this could be avoided. 1 life. Rather than try and get a tank to pick you up in the middle of a fight, let's maybe hover, glide over towards a hill. Let's just coast. Let's just go with the momentum and head back out of range. Maybe let's swing round the side here and climb up the hill to get back to base. Plenty of options, but unfortunately not the one that King goes for. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I mean, on 1 life you got to be ultra safe, because otherwise you're just going to lose, obviously, right? Just get back alive. Don't try and get in a tank that's fighting when bombers are up. Okay, switch it on to game 5, or the last game, which was on Grand Theft. Right about
Games this morning.
here. Okay.
Oh my gosh, on this map.
Now, I really like how Business Lawyer played this match. I think it's wicked. I think it's so strong. Because it's gonna work on anyone. It's gonna work. It's gonna get you wins against the strongest players if they just take a bit too long and spawn. So let's take a look. I don't want to spoil it just yet. Maybe you can guess if you don't know. But Lawyer puts himself in a game-winning position within 3 minutes of the game. So think about how that happened, and you'll see in a sec. I mean, King's opened to get the west side. He's even navved the southwest. Well, southwest for him. Well, it's no longer going to be possible actually, because votes are coming in to revert this back to the stock version, which I'll happily do. So this won't be possible anymore. So maybe King has a better chance of winning this map going forward. But he does try for again like this. This is the same problem. This is the same problem. Not every time, but almost every time King plays a game and loses, the reason is the same simple thing. He's just too greedy. Just too greedy. You're trying to get like the scrap majority and take this off of him. Alright. But what about up front in the main area of the map? What's happening here? You're at a massive disadvantage. You're not going to make it here quick enough. And you're going to see how. Like, what is an extra 40 scrap if you miss another 40 scrap on the mid area that you should have got but you took too long to get? Or you get caught with your pants down and you get rushed. That 40 scrap means nothing. Just give it up. Just play safe. So, coming up to 3 minutes. King is finally making a move for mid. But the genius of business lawyer, the genius galaxy brain of lawyer man, the litigator.
This is gonna be awkward.
Yep. So now I think business lawyer. I kind of want to play into my own hubris by thinking that lawyer only did this because of the video I put out recently with the scrapping contention, with the kind of core concept that if you play in a certain way, if you rush hard to take grounds that should have been your opponent's space, like if you deploy where they're meant to be deploying soon, if you do it quick enough, you can completely disrupt the game because they're thinking, well, what the fuck, like I can't deploy where I'm meant to deploy, so how do I play the map? It just messes up the plan, and they're going to lose the scrap that they expected to have. Now I'm not going to be able to afford what they normally can buy, so lawyer's done this. So maybe he's just done this because he was planning to do it anyway, like it was up his sleeve the whole time, but I do like to think that he was going for this because of the recent impact of that video, but we'll see, you know, when he or if he gives a comment on that. Okay.
Siege time.
HF, how the fuck did he do that? Well, by going mid quickly and building a factory and then bringing that factory up to the top of mid before 3 minutes on the condition that KFK takes a long time in spawn. I would assume that BL was kind of having this prepped, and he checked that KFK was not in mid yet by around 2 minutes 30 or 2 minutes, and when that was established he went through with the plan of rushing that factory up onto top spawn, oh, not top spawn, sorry, top of mid, north mid, and that's very powerful. Historically, I don't know if it's even right to say historically, but I guess it is, in terms of the chronicles of BZ in the tournaments. Fuck, why do I call it BZ? It's meant to be Z. BZ doesn't sound right, it just feels wrong. In the 2021 tournament against DBZ, oh for fuck's sake, I can take it again. DBZ, I'm still gonna go with it. In the grand final, I think it was game 1, he did this exact thing, but the opposite way around. So he was north, I was south. He went into mid really quick, really early. And yeah, when you do this, you are going to maybe sacrifice some spawn scrap, or we're going to get that later. But it's low priority, as my recent video, you know, covered. That's low priority. You can get it later, you can get it at any time, because the opponent's never going to take it off of you. So you don't need it now. You need some of it, but not all of it. You need some to get started, but the rest of it you can get later. Just greedy. Yeah, DBZ deployed in south mid, even though he spawned north. And that was a real a real crazy moment for me because yeah, I'd seen it before. I knew it was a possibility, but the way he did it so quick, I wasn't even late to mid. I did like a normal, standard, reasonable opener. I got into mid at like at normal time, 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30, and he was already there deploying a factory, or his recycler deploying it. You know, he's spawned north. He's already deploying here by the time I came around here. So I had to play the whole game from this pocket. And there was the stock map, so the only scrap I got was this, this, and this. Just that. All I had to work with. Oh, and this as well. So 4 pockets. It's about 20 per like pocket. I don't know about spawn, maybe it's 10. Let's just ballpark it and say 50, 60, 70. Which is not really enough. It's not really enough to be fully in the game. And DBZ got, you know, all of this. So he had a nice advantage, and this as well. So it's just a really strong way to open. Just take the spot, steal the spot away from them. Because yeah, the main power of this is not the scrap steal. That's a secondary benefit. The main advantage of this kind of taking of space or stealing space, taking the geyser spot, is it just confuses the opponent, because your whole plan no longer can be carried forward because you're expecting to be on this geyser with this scrap. You're not, and you have no experience playing from here. Like, this is a 1 geyser spot. So what do I do? Do I play from here, or do I drop back to spawn? If I drop back to spawn, I've literally given up all of mid. You know, it fucks with you. You know, if someone is not that experienced, the little bit of experience that they have is deploying here and fighting here. That only, like, all the experience of Grand Theft is just fighting here. But you put them back here, and they have no idea what to do. They don't know ranges. They don't know if the house can reach over the wall. They don't know if they can climb the wall. They don't know, like, anything about how to play from here. That's the power of it, and you can apply it to many maps, not just Grand Theft, but Grand Theft's a brilliant example of it. A really good example of it in play. I keep rambling again, but hopefully it's good rambling, not bad rambling. Okay. Let's let this play out for a bit before I kind of break it down.
This is gonna be awkward.
Turret is deployed. Construction here. Yes, Cobra. It will be built. Yes. Approaching geyser. On my way. Scavenger. Following. Building complete. Yes. Construction here. Yes,
Siege time.
it will be built. Unit factory. Constructing. Building complete. I have no power. Approaching geyser.
Shit.
Complete. Unit factory. Constructing.
And I'm delivering, I hope. See, I do try to contribute, you know, if someone wants something, if they request something, or even, you know, suggests. I want to do it because, you know, it's interest. There's interest there. I don't just want to put stuff out when there's no interest in it. I want to put stuff out that's actually what people want to see or hear, or, you know. I've got to learn to shut up. Jesus.
Warning. Damage critical.
Deploying. Recycler here. Building. Moving out. Unit complete. Unit factory. Another is dying. Constructing. Understood. Unit complete. Another is dying. Understood. Moving out. Recycler here. Building. Building.
Okay, this is something worth mentioning. because if I mention it now, I haven't got to go scrubbing through for it at the end of the play. Business lawyer ejects king and sticks these two fighters on him. Now, there's a pretty good chance they would get the kill, but actually, considering, you know, on a deep level, well, not deep, but, you know, thinking about it, it's a CRA fighter. You know, they've got the issue with the aiming. They don't really kill players reliably. Same thing for the Black Dog Scout. They just don't reliably hit players. Even if it was a couple of light tanks or something, there's a chance that they wouldn't get the kill. So not only does King get away with his life, he is able to punish and kill these two fighters. This is significant because it's 4 minutes in, almost 5. Both players are jostling for this space. That all the scrap in the map is not in play yet, but it's being determined by this fight. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Business Lawyer needs to hold on to his units. He's got the forward position. All of the back scrap, the low priority scrap south, will be taken passively over time. So what he needs to do is just hold ground, hold position. Don't attack. Don't make a play for the wreck, which we're about to see in a minute. Don't make a play for the lives. Just hold that ground. Let the scrap gradually come in, and you're going to reap the rewards of your labor soon because you've taken all that space. You've locked him out. You're only going to get the reward for that move in a few minutes. That's going to come in. You haven't got a reward on it yet. You've secured a reward, but that's not arrived yet. So your goal, lawyer, is to just hold ground and to not let anything die. Don't throw anything away. Hold on to the scrap. Wait for scrap to come in, and then you will secure your victory. Okay, so yep, the two fighters were put down. Two fighters that lawyer needed to keep to defend his forward position. That's very precarious, but is promising.
Oops.
So that's a serious, that's quite a significant setback given that the scrap in play is very low right now. These two walkers.
That scavenger is saving me.
Even. 3 walkers. Okay, so this looks good, right? This looks really good, doesn't it? This looks like lawyer's about to win. Especially when you see this. Right, so the recycler's being hit by the walkers. I'll reveal to you now that Business Lawyer loses this game. So maybe you're thinking, oh, okay, so the walkers run out of ammo, right? They don't finish the kill on the wreck. Well, no, they do kill the recycler, but still lawyer loses this in about 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something. Something crazy. A lot of this it comes down to this because of the terrain, the map. Like, lawyer's coming into this really awkward choke point where he can get attacked from 2 sides. He's sent his AI to hit the recycler to secure, you know, what would be considered as a win condition, but the factory's here. So the factory can come in and, you know, we could just hit the AI from behind that's focusing on the recycler. So the walkers are going to go down, but the traders, they got the recycler, so that seems good. But remember, the price of the walker or the Mongo, the golem in SPP is a bit higher. It's 14. We're looking at 14, 28, some other number, 42. I hope I'm not embarrassing myself here. Okay. And then the 2 fighters, let's go 48, 54 scrap that's been lost here, and then the 2 fighters. So that is almost all of the scrap that he would have picked up. because of this low scrap map, and he's playing aggressively in the north, so his any scrap collection at the back is going to be slower than normal because of less silos, less scavengers placed there, further away from recycler. Oh, that's a key point. Recycler is not here. If the recycler was here, the scavengers right now would be gathering this, and the factory could pump out more stuff. I mentioned previously on Decimation Valley, when you go for these plays, the kind of plays where you've got to win or you lose because of the scrap, you're throwing scrap at them in the hopes of overwhelming, like an overwhelm strategy. You need to bring your recycler with you because, like, immediately with the factory, it goes with the factory. The whole shebang moves over here because the scrap needs to be picked up. If you lose the cons, that's got to come back. If you bring the recycler with you, it doesn't matter if you lose the cons or the silo because it's all here. So you got to bring a recycler with you if you want to go for these plays, because there's no contingency after this. There's no running back and rebuilding because there's no scrap left. It's a low scrap map. There's no recovery. So commit all the way. Full send on the recycler. Bring it in. Okay, so the walkers go down. Possibly some issues with scav management, because you would assume there should be at least a few scavengers up here. But effectively, BL is broke. He has bankrupted himself. He has secured the wreck take by bankrupting himself. And as we know, strat is not decided by just losing the recycler. There's multiple win conditions that go into it. That the whole thing is kind of dynamic. It changes by situation. Multiple factors depend on other factors and whether they matter. Simply getting a recycler is not a victory. It's actually quite far from a victory in a lot of cases. It's actually not even a step forward a lot of the time. So yeah, consider what is the win condition. The win condition is either to make them run out of scrap, so win the economy game, or it's to take their lives. Those are the two conditions. Taking out the recycler damages the economy side of the win condition, but it does not remove it, it does not destroy it. You've not won from there. So that is why Lawyer has lost this game. Simply from the way of processing the win conditions. So a little bit too eager on trying to take a life, and a little bit too eager on taking the wreck. They're just not needed. You don't need to take those out. What you need to do is break his economy. You can't break his economy until you planted the seeds of success. Now you got to wait for them to grow. That happens in time. You just got to sit back and wait. Hold here with an army, and soon you will have the scrap advantage, and then you can push and play the smart economy game. A little bit more patience, I think, really. I can show you how this ends, because it's an entertaining game. No, HF, I don't think the Emperor needs a nerf per se, like not at least in terms of this gameplay. I'm a bit concerned about its new improved hit rate, its percentage of landing shots. But I don't think the unit's outrageously broken right now. I just think there's definitely a chance to consider some extra nerfs, some small ones. Just as I think it's the case for a lot of other things right now. I think we're close to I don't want to say done, but we're close to finished in terms of, tweaking units and such. But I still think there's a long way to go in terms of play testing and seeing seeing how it goes, because you know CRA, as we both know, is underplayed. Only time will tell if we need to tweak further on, specifically the heavy tank. I'm leaning towards yes, but we'll see. But if it was to nerf the heavy tank, I would imagine maybe we'd buff something else. Because I don't think the CRA is too weak or too strong right now. But maybe specifically for the one unit it might need a change, but then to balance that out would give some kind of other benefit to, you know, to not make the faction suck. It's a whole conversation to be had. Right, for now though, let's just watch the fuckery. Alright, there it goes. The visual. As we anticipated, the recycler really is fleeing.
Did he escape? It escaped, fucking hell.
Yeah, but it escapes to no scrap. So, it doesn't really matter, he won the game.
Fucking hell.
I mean, this is kind of why a full retreat with the prods all the way, it's not done much, it's not seen often. Usually people will just die on the hill, literally, metaphorically, they'll die on the hill that they're on, because there's no going back. What are you going back to? Okay, I suppose Lawyer could have kept running and maybe got this. If KFK had not come here, he could get this. But had KFK not come here, he would have gone around here. That's a lot of third conditional. That hurts my head.
Construction here. I will follow.
Awaiting orders. More power is needed. Following. More power is needed.
How is it running?
I also apologise for anyone who listens on high volume, because I'm fucking around with the slider a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not a professional YouTuber. Never will be. Don't even attempt to be.
Launching attack.
Understood. Protecting unit. Missiles away.
Attacker lost.
You know, I got a feeling that the CCA APC has that same thing with the NSDF APC, where the like the hitbox is too thick, quote unquote, to allow a sniper shot to pass through. There's some kind of weird physics with that, like a sniper shot won't hit the dot of the sniper dot because of like the unit being too bulky. I need to test this, but I swear the CCA APC at the front also has this. Like, look at these shots.
Understood.
Oh, well, I'd like to have looked at the shots.
Launching attack.
That's right there.
Protecting unit. Missiles
Right, that was right in the center. That was center of POV. And now POV is where the sniper dot is, the point of view. But that should be a snipe.
Launching attack.
Like, look at this.
understood. Protecting unit.
You're gonna tell me that's not a snipe? That's right on his crosshair, on his dot reticle. Like, that's dead on. You know, because the CCA APC is really bulky. It's like a rhino, you know, it's massive nose. It's like really long at the front. I think it blocks shots at the front. Gotta test it. Probably will test it right after I finish making this. But that's interesting.
Missiles away.
Attacker lost.
More power is needed. Approaching Kaiser. Construction here.
Attacker
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Attacking target. Right away.
attacker
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Construction here. Moving out.
Shit. Fuck.
warning. Damage critical. Comrade
So it looks like it might be a clutch up right now. Like that was the last shot that BL had. It looks like he's clutching up.
Missiles away. Moving out. Missiles away. Moving out.
I like that. Surprise witness. I guess a surprise witness for KFK. Well, I don't know. What would it be for KFK? Like BL's own hubris? For thinking he can take the game just from the wreck, maybe?
Target destroyed. Attacking target. Affirmative. Moving out.
There it is. So, yeah, he tried to snipe the light tank. The sandbag improves stats. Actually, one hits a player. And then moves like an AT stabber. So the LT, the Stolly, and the Naga, quite reliable on taking out a player actually. Unlike say a scout or something.
Wow. Wow. Alright, Rio, you ready for this?
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, KingFurykiller is an absolute legend. You know, he does so much for us. It's a beast of the community. The streaming is, well, I mean, people only stream because he was doing it so much, and we thought, you know, why don't we try as well? Face cam, always optimistic, always happy, laughing. He's brilliant for the community. So I'm not bashing on him. No, I'm not trying to be mean, right? But I think we have spoke about maybe giving you some advice on strat to finally like break the issue, because you've been playing for so long, you have so much experience, and you play really well. It's just these strange decisions that just don't make sense. So I hope this can help if you are listening. I did a little summary of the main issues, specifically the ones that we see in these few games. Now, yeah, the first thing, obviously, that King just plays too greedy. He leaves himself exposed because he's trying to get the strong economy. Now, this is not only is that like a risk in and of itself, you're kind of flipping a coin and just hoping it lands on the side where you get away with it. It's especially bad in this meta and in this era, like in this time of strat, because people are just checking. People are smarter, they're building a lot quicker, they have better knowledge of resource placement and the timings. They know how you open. Like you're gonna be one of the most anti-stratted players in the community, because everyone watches your gameplay. Everyone knows how you play. Like we know how you play better than you do. You know, we know what you're doing in a way. I know where you are without even having to like check. You know, and I'm not gonna rip on you. I'm just saying that's how it is. You got to adapt. Like you got to stop doing these greedy plays. Like do them every now and then. Every now and then, go for a greedy play. Here's a free tip, especially if you're playing Black Dogs, because if you're playing Black Dogs, people are going to expect you to rush. That's when you should go for your greedy plays. use that quick speed, use the fear of the rush to get your greedy plays. But don't always do that, because then someone's just gonna rush you when you're black dogs because of that. But that's the one way you could use it. But you got to play more safe. You got to play a more humble opener. You got to learn to play on less scrap, maybe even at a disadvantage, maybe even less than the opponent in the opener. But it'll make you a better player. I assure you of that. It will. It'll make you better at managing your resources, and you'll feel the pain more if you make a mistake and you lose scrap. You'll feel the pain more because you'll realize that's a bigger deal for you if you haven't got the huge bank. If you've got the massive bank of scrap, you can make a mistake and it doesn't matter. If you're playing on a deficit, you can't afford to make a mistake and you'll be more sharp in your decision making. Okay, number 2, yeah, you don't know when to cut your losses, and by extension adapt based on how the opener goes. So if a greedy opener fails, accept that it's failed and play in a more safe and a more smart way in terms of resource gathering and resource usage. So let's consider the rock baby game. If your attempt for vacant fails because you went to the wrong corner, then get back to spawn, anticipate that your opponent's going to capitalize on it, because, you know, like I said, stratters are getting a lot smarter now. It used to be the case, you know, decades ago, that the game was played on instinct, that you would just kind of feel what to do, and that wouldn't necessarily translate into the right decisions. It would translate into good decisions, but not the best decision, optimal for the situation. Nowadays, it is more like the latter. It's more like people are playing optimally and closer to perfect as you can get. You know, like a machine. Like, what do you call that thing? A thing, you know, where like a machine speed runs a game. I forget what it's called, but it's like that. You know, we're getting closer to that. So if you go for a greedy opener and the player catches you out, logically that means your economy's fucked because your opening gambit has not worked. So what they're going to do, they're going to come for you. So what should you do then? Get back into base, defend, work on the scrap deficit, and you can come up with smart ways to bait someone into a bad attack and take scrap off of them. That's one of the hardest parts of this game, is attacking without feeding. That's such a hard thing to do. Everyone gets that wrong. But if you practice playing on the back foot, by accepting that your greedy opener didn't work and going back to consolidate and to not lose any more stuff, you'll start to pick up ways to get back on top of the economy game. So how about this? Rather than seeing it like you need to open in this greedy way to get on top of the economy, because that's what you want, that's how you like to win, through you know, having the full range of tools at your disposal, why not consider getting to that point after playing safe, being on the deficit, and then baiting your opponent into a feed, and then you get on top, and then you finish the game in the way that we all know you can, with absolute dominance when you get the scrap flow. That would probably put you into S tier if you could do that reliably. Bait out feeds, punish the feeds, rather than making the feeds. That would make you S tier. I'm quite sure of it. So yeah, an extension to cut the losses. In particular, the silo. We got to talk about the silos, man. Sometimes the battle is lost and you're not getting it back. And if you try to get it back, you're only feeding harder. Even if you knock down the silo, they're just going to build another one. Even if you knock down the silo and the constructor, they've got an army. So the army is going to hold position and stop your scabs while the constructor comes back. There's 3 conditions there that you need to fulfill. Destroy the army, destroy the silo, destroy the constructor, and even the 4th, kill the scabs. You're not going to be able to do that on a solo rush. You're not going to be able to do that with a half an army. It's not feasible. You have to just give it up. Okay, yeah, now sometimes a solo rush on a silo makes sense. But this is a totally different situation. This is when you're either still in the game or you have 0 options left. not when it's like you need to get on the scrap and recover and take like even take just a quarter of it back and let them get the bulk. In that situation, you just step back and just work with what you can. There's not much I can really say here aside from watch Grizzly 1, VT, and myself. When we make a mad dash for the silo, look at the condition of the game there. Look at the situation there, and consider the difference between that context and the context where you go for it. It's going to be totally different. And you're a smart guy. I know you can work out what the difference is and why it makes sense when we go for it. And that would just make you a much better player. Because not only is there a feed, but you're contributing on top of the feed and making it 1.5 or 2 times the size of the original feed by trying to push in for it. This is time that you could spend doing any other thing to get back in the game. Another little thing I noticed is, this applies to like every player. Switch your radar to your map more often and just give a quick glance. Some would say switch it to the map and wait a full 5 seconds or whatever for the ping. I wouldn't even say that. I would just say flick it back to the map for like a millisecond, just a split second. Get your eyes on it like a glance, and then switch it back. You'll see me do this a lot. I like double tap. Is it caps lock? It's all muscle memory, isn't it? I can't remember. I think it's caps lock, right? Double tap that real quick, and you can just get a glance on the map every 10-15 seconds, and it just gives you info. It just keeps you. That's how I have. That's how I have the awareness, that I'm known for, is that I'm double tapping map quickly to see what's there. And I'm just trying to think like in every moment, okay, so this looks good for me. Is opponent going to do something crazy? Let's sort of keep my eyes peeled on the radar. If I see a ping, let's check it. Let's double tap for the map, for a quick glance at the map. If a player's in sat, if I've not seen the player for a long time, if I'm engaging in a fight and I can't spot the player tank, that's another condition where I'd be checking, I'd be hyper aware. If I'm fighting the player and I can count that they've not got 10 offensives with them, that would ring alarm bells in my head. There's 2 or 3 offensives that have gone unaccounted for. Where are they? Maybe they're about to come up the hill behind my wreck. Let's have a quick check. This kind of thing. That's literally it. It's just looking at the situation and thinking, what's the worst case scenario right now? Well, what if there's like a heavy tank, about to appear on the radar by my recycler? I think like that every minute. It's not to say I never get flanked. I do sometimes. G1 flanked me in the seeding for this tournament, for the 2022 tournament. He got a flank on me on Moonwall, Hills of War. And I completely missed that. I think I only noticed it when it was like halfway across, the radar scan, 500 meters closer. Well, 1,000 meter radar, but 500 I think is when I picked it up. And it was too late because I was right down in mid. And yeah, it goes to show you're sometimes going to miss that it's coming in. But I catch it, at least 90% of the time because I'm just checking and being paranoid about it. Reminding myself in every situation, okay, like I can't see the player. Where are they? Maybe they're coming from our recycler. That kind of thing. And yeah, it just comes down to decision making for the most part for King. I guess it's like thinking on the meta level rather than focusing on your plan, like your path to victory. It's a good plan, but it's not going to work as reliably as it used to against the way people play these days. Taking space, map awareness, trying to catch you out on timings. You got to play more safe, and you've got to accept that you won't get the economy advantage unless you do something about it, like you create it. Create that advantage. Don't try and force it out of the map. Force it out of the player by how they are playing against you. Make them make a mistake. And that's the key to victory, I believe. Play like that, and you will beat anyone. You can do it reliably, because you're not thinking on just your plan, you're thinking across the whole game. Your plan will then adapt to the game, and you'll think up new shit on the fly, and that is the winning game plan. To let it adapt, let it switch, let it change. I hope that makes sense. I hope you see what I mean. Don't be so rigid on your plan. Don't be so dead set on, I need to get this scrap, and like this corner. I must get these 3 corners. I must get this, this, and this. Maybe not. Maybe don't get that. Focus on the fundamentals. Get into mid. Get your army. Get your 10 offensives. And go from there. So a massive ramble video, but it's for King, and you know, like I said, we've all watched thousands of hours of his gameplay. So there's a lot of things I wanted to point out, and I hope that it can help either King or anyone else who maybe watches King and sees like, oh man, the same thing happens to me. Well, there you go. That should help you understand. Alright then, peace. Have a good one.